what the program is about. So I usually use purples, and sometimes or most times if you look at MATLAB grader, you'll see a purpose specified. Suppose now I said that I want first of all to perform scalar operations and generate plots. And I'll say 2D plots because we have 2 dimensions and we have 3 dimensions, 2D plots. That's what I want to kind of hint or look at today. I'm going to use a variable, let's say, to divide 2 numbers. So the first one I'm going to write, let's say I call the variable A, and I'm going to say that is equal to 15, any number you wish. And the other one, B, say equals 3. And I'm going to say C is equal to A divided by B. Please, the notation here, this slash, we call it a right divide. Just like if you were writing on a piece of paper, the slash goes this way. We call that the right divide. Do not use the left divide. We reserve the left divide for another function that we'll be doing later. So let's run this program. To run the program, I'm going to make sure I'm in the editor mode. So do not forget here. In fact, there are 2 things. One other thing I want to point out. I'm not sure. I think online you will see this asterisk right here. That means that I haven't saved this program. I opened it, I started typing, and I need to save it. If I go to the editor mode, you have the chance to save the file like you do a Word document or Excel document. Or you have the opportunity to save and run. I usually go here, but there's nothing wrong if someone wants to save it and then run it. When I do save or save and run, this asterisk will disappear, telling me that the program has been saved. I'm going to do both options. I did discuss this in the last lab, but one more time. If I say save, and you see that asterisk disappears. So that means the program has been saved. If I just put a space here, the asterisk is there again, saying you've made some change, whatever it is. I can go again and say save, or I can just come here. I'll say save this program and run it. So it's not necessary to do 2 steps. So I'm when I say save and run, I'll be seeing the output down here in the command window. So I'm going to run, and it says I was running the program January 24, and it says A is 15, B is 3, and C is equal to 5. And so it is giving us the results. And we'll be doing more of that. As we did some of these on Tuesday's lab. We're going to do a similar thing today in today's lab with more complicated functions, or I would say expressions. The other thing I want to do is talk about plotting, start talking about plotting. There's a way now, because it's a new topic that I'm trying to discuss now. The first one was just scalar operations, but let me do one more here. And suppose I said D is equal to A plus B, and let's multiply that by C. And someone asked, is it necessary to leave the spaces? No, it's just my style. You don't have to leave a space before the A and the plus. And so if I do this, one more operation, and I run this, remember I have this CLC and a CLER. So it always clears my workspace and does the new operation that I have in there. So I've done about 2 of them. Now, suppose I wanted to generate a plot. I'm going to go up here in the editor mode and say insert a section. I discussed this last lab. I'll be telling you what I'm doing when we get to today's lab. But I think the people in the Tuesday lab should remember that if I just click on this, it brings a double % sign. These guys that have green color means that MATLAB is not running those lines. Those lines are just for the user to explain what's going on. MATLAB doesn't grade the comments that we're putting in. So here, this double % sign, later on when we are publishing files, I think next week or so, or the week after, when we are publishing files, that means I want to see the code the program and its output, then this acts like a hyperlink for us. So just like if you're going on the internet and you're clicking on a page and it takes you to the next page and so on, this double % sign, which is a section, also serves as a hyperlink. But for the time being, I'm just going to use it, and I'm not going to be publishing this one, so we see that feature. I want to create a 2D plot. I'm going to select, even though in this class we haven't talked, Thursday people haven't talked about vectors yet. I'll just introduce them quickly to it, and we'll be doing it more in the lab. I'm going to create 2 arrays or 2 vectors. One of them I'm going to call X, and I'm going to say X equals 1:20. Well, that means that X array would have values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 20. I'm going to run this program so you can see what's going on. You see now X is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up to 20. So that's how you quickly create a vector that has 20 elements. We'll be talking more about that in the lab. I want to generate a 2D plot, Y versus X. So I'm going to say Y equals, and let's just say it's 2 times X to make it simple. And if I run this program again, I see now Y has 2 times the value of X. So for every X, I have a Y. Now my intent is to generate plots. So I will do this. Now plot is a function that has several attributes, and I'll take a simple one. Now, if you do a help on plot, in fact, before I do that, I will do DOC. That's my way of doing the help. It's for me, it's DOC, PLOT. That's a way to, so I want to go to the MATLAB documentation and let it tell me how to generate plots. Or I think some people can do help space PLOT. And I hit enter, and it gets to the MATLAB documentation. So if you know, as I said, the command plot, doc, just DOC. All MATLAB commands are lowercase. I cannot type uppercase DOC. In fact, if you type uppercase DOC, it will tell you, do you mean lowercase DOC? And so it tells you that there are several ways of generating plots. And this is the first one that I want to use. Plot X, Y means generate a plot of Y versus X. So the plot, so this is your X-axis, that's your Y-axis. And so let's just do that simple command first. So I'm going to try to do this, and I come to my program here. Come on, can I take this out? I'll just click on the back. It won't let me do it. Why? All right, I'll close it. In that case, let me do this. Maybe online, help PL, because I don't want to close. I want to be able to access it again. All right. Maybe online, it doesn't like me to do that. In the Zoom mode. But this is the same kind of documentation. If I scroll down, when I do the doc, you'll see this. Plot X, Y, plots Y versus X. So I'll come here and I'll say plot. Now, there's a difference between uppercase and lowercase. So I generated a lowercase variable X and Y. And if I run this program now, I will see, of course, a plot. And it says, now, if you look at this, everybody's confused. If you just sent me this, I'm not sure what you mean. Which one was the Y? Which one was, what were you plotting in the first place? So you have to include annotations. Just sending a plot like this is not going to be sufficient. And so after I've generated the plot, I'll do come here. Let's go to help on plot here since it doesn't freeze. It doesn't close everything. Like I said, it's a document plot. When you're not online on Zoom, then do the DOC. It says that after I've generated the plot, I can actually do, well, I want to skip this first. I can actually put labels. So if you come to the bottom, every time you do either doc plot or help on plot, at the bottom you will see additional information. It says, oh, but for example, I should be able to put a title on the plot. I should be able to label the x-axis. I should be able to label the y-axis. If I have multiple plots, I should be able to do a legend. And later on, we'll be talking about subplots, semi-log plots. Plot tools is another one. In fact, this is a subset of a plot tool, which allows you to manipulate your plots after you have generated them to add other features. But so what I want to do primarily, I want to set the title. So I would use, if I forget, let me tell you what I'll do here. If I start typing TIT and MATLAB says you want to add a title, so I can click on it. But that form doesn't tell me what goes in there. If I click here, so this was that plot command, go to the bottom, click on title. And it says that, come on, it should show me. Oh, this is the PC, control click. On the Mac, you don't have to hold the control. On the PC, for me, it said control click. And it says, oh, you want to create a title? Then have an open parenthesis, a single quote, and what you want to type in there, followed by a single quote to close the quotation, and then the parentheses. So suppose I said, I want this to just be Y versus X. That is what I want to show in the title. I should have a single quote here. What should be in there should be purple. Oh, by the way, you see MATLAB? I don't know, it does it in red, it's screaming. Every time you make an error, it kind of alerts you. If you're watching the sidebar, you will see things turning red. The orange is just a caution. We'll talk about that later, how you suppress information and write data to files or nicely just write data to the screen. Don't worry about the orange. The orange, these are warnings. It's saying, MATLAB is assuming you're now a pro. It's saying, oh, you shouldn't just say A equals 15. You should hide that information and B equals 3. Have a nice way of writing A equals 15 and B equals 3. But we are not at that point yet. So we're going to ignore the warnings that are kind of orange or brown. It's the red that I'm concerned with. You see, the difference between you and me now is I've done this several times and I know what my errors are. But you are coming up and you're trying to learn the syntax for this MATLAB. I see here there's a red right to it, and MATLAB is warning you. It says it's an invalid syntax. It says you must be missing a closing quote somewhere. So it's time to alert you that something is wrong with this line. That means, remember text, the title, the text should be between single quotes. So I have to come here and I'll put a single quote. In fact, if you do it correctly, you'll see that the text will turn into purple or magenta, so you can see that it is correct. Again, so if you make a mistake, say I didn't put this closing one, MATLAB will say, oh, something is wrong. If you're not paying attention to this sidebar, when you run the program, MATLAB will give you an error. In fact, I'll run it first with the error so you can see what the error looks like. So I'll just run it, and you see it says that there's an error, and it tries to direct you. It says there's an error in line 10 of your program and column 18. So it's counting from the end, how many spaces. So if you click right here, basically, it will take you to that line in your program. And if it doesn't take you, at least you see that, okay, go to line 10 and something is missing. But you have to know when it says character vector is not terminated properly, you're still in doubt, just go to that help on title and it will tell you that the text should be within 2 single quotes. So I'm going to put one here. Whilst I'm at this, let's continue and do the other ones.